Hey, welcome to today's Daily Walk. So we're going to call this series the Gangster with God series. What do you think about that, Gangster with God? Because last week we were talking to God about his views on drugs, particularly, performance enhancing or recreational drugs. And now today I'm talking to Jesus, and the Holy Spirit joined this conversation, and we're talking about rap music. And I'm talking about the rap music that tends to be a little bit demeaning, particularly, not a little bit, but it tends to be very demeaning towards women. And just to give you some quick history, music is the Holy Spirit source of energy with like me and my mom. We grew up around Detroit. We would go to the Techno Fest. Detroit is the birthplace of techno, and we just love music. It gives us, we like what we call techno music. It's nowadays called EDM, electronic dance music, and it just gives us so much energy. My mom and I have gone to clubs in Cancun. She's like 70 years old. They put her like on the top where like all the, beautiful ladies and everything go, and the club just loved it. And my mom was like, I love you. And just the energy is the biggest gift from the Holy Spirit. That's my mom and I's jam. So to this day, when I listen to techno or EDM or rap music, it gives me energy, and I love the beats, and they help time my runs, and I just love it. But we were talking today, and I was talking to Jesus because we were in my wife's Jeep, and we were jamming some music, and he was in the back seat jamming with us, and then a song came on that was like very, very demeaning lyrics, and Jesus said, wow, that kind of kills the vibe. He talks in this Jewish voice. I can't even imitate it. But anyway, he's like, that kind of killed the vibe. I mean, interesting choice of lyrics. And I'm like, geez, man, it's all about the beats and the energy, man. And here was the response. He said, well, let's talk about this. He said, if those lyrics were sung about your wife, like they inserted your wife's name or your mom's name, would you be all about the beats and jam into it? I'm like, dude, I would write my congressman. That is demeaning. No, And he's like, okay. And I'm like, gosh, darn it, Jesus. It's a good point. It's a really good point. And then the second point he made, he said, okay, well, are there any alternatives to those lyrics? And, it's a good point. Yes, there are Christian EDM artists. They're not as good as the other ones. Oh, sorry, Jesus. No, there are other alternatives. There are Christian EDM artists, Christian rappers that have decent beats and whatnot. There also there's clean playlists. Now, the clean playlists are kind of a scapegoat because they might eliminate the bad language, but the content, the demeaning content is still there. And there is plenty of music out there with amazing beats that just isn't demeaning. It's kind of happy, or it doesn't glorify drugs or whatnot. So there are definitely other options out there. And then the third thing that he mentioned was whether you say on the conscious level that you're just listening to the beats, you're hearing that rhetoric. You're hearing that demeaning rhetoric, and the brain science. Jesus is like, I don't need to teach you this. And meanwhile, the Holy Spirit's all like swishing around because the Holy Spirit's like energy, and the Holy Spirit's loving the fact that I'm just getting beat up on this topic. We like to joke. But anyway, so Jesus is saying that demeaning content is getting into your brain, and the neuroscience on that, it's true. So even though you follow me, even though you don't have those views, those demeaning views, they're sunk in your brain. All right. So finally, I'm like, dude, this is going bad south because, Jesus, I really don't want to give up my EDM music. I really don't want to give up some of these songs. So what other than these alternatives can I do? And he's like, well, do a little bit of each alternative. And when you do, and this is kind of what we came to the agreement on, and kind of what I've been doing the last several months, is for every track that seeps into my brain that has some demeaning lyrics, I actually dedicate half of my workout. So I normally listen to this kind of music during a workout. So if I'm listening to something that happens to have demeaning lyrics in it, the next workout is all a faith-based podcast. Those aren't the most productive workouts. I love the faith-based podcast, but the guy I listen to, Amos is his name, Church of Entrepreneurs. I highly recommend you download the podcast. It's awesome, Church of Entrepreneurs. But anyway, he's just very dry in how he talks. So he's not the one that's going to like fire up your squat session. You know what I mean? But you know what? For every time my brain inputs are going in that are not godly, I need to put double the amount of inputs to deal with that. So my brain is getting 2-to-1 godly to ungodly. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been trying to stick to clean playlists. I've been trying to stick to playlists that I know are more happy, that don't have the demeaning lyrics regardless of the beats. Because like Jesus said, there's plenty of good beats out there. And when my brain is exposed to the negative or the demeaning beats, then I try to go and combat that, or I go and combat that with a religious or gospel music or something along those lines. So, hey, so those would be the top 3 things that we kind of talked about. Love it. Love to hear what music gives you energy. What's kind of cool, and I'll leave with this, is what's kind of cool is what happened in this, is I started listening to gospel, and I found that the gospel music like turned my workouts up like just as much as the other kind of music. So that was kind of cool. Like I'm jamming gospel. I have a whole gospel playlist. As a matter of fact, when I have time, I'd like to when I get back into like DJing and stuff, I would love to mix some gospel in with EDM. I don't know if that's ever been done, but like traditional EDM with positive beats with gospel music. So if you know anyone that's already done that, please comment and let me know. I'd love to hear it. So awesome. We will see you next week, and maybe we'll continue to talk to God, the Father, Jesus, his Son, and the Holy Spirit about in the Gangster series. Who knows what we might talk about next weekend. But thanks for tuning in today. And as always, if there's any scriptural verses that kind of back up what we're talking about here, I'd love to see them in the comments. Those can help me and others grow. But until then, listen to your music, but try to keep the demeaning on a 2-to-1 or eradicate it from your playlist altogether. You guys have a great rest of your day.